Hi students, and welcome to today's lesson. I'm Ms. Albina. Today, we'll look at some of your questions about butterflies and butterfly survival. Are you ready? Grab your pencil and your science journal, and let's get started. Remember our butterfly fossil? This fossil gave us our first evidence that butterflies have been around for a very long time. In fact, when we created our timeline, we realized that butterflies have been around longer than flowering plants and humans. But we still weren't sure where this particular fossil would fall on our timeline. Where do you think this fossil belongs? This butterfly fossil is 34 million years old. That's older than the earliest humans, but it's actually still pretty young compared to the earliest butterflies. Butterflies have been around a really long time. I have a lot of questions, and you might too. But my biggest question is, how have butterflies survived so long? In our last session, you wrote your own questions about the butterfly fossil and about butterfly survival. Let's take a look at some of the questions you may have asked. Maybe you wondered, how have butterflies survived for so long? And why didn't butterflies die when dinosaurs did? Or are there fossils of other organisms? Maybe you asked, how do we know how long butterflies have been on Earth? I know I've been wondering, do butterflies always live in the same environment? Or did you have questions like, do butterflies migrate like birds do? Do butterflies need to leave in the winter? Maybe you asked, what do butterflies eat? Or do butterflies live on flowers? Maybe you noticed that dinosaurs came before butterflies on our timeline and thought, did butterflies live with dinosaurs? Did you think about what's around butterflies and ask yourself, what is found near butterflies? Or do butterflies die in the winter? Why are butterflies found in certain places and at certain times? And what happens to butterflies when it gets cold? Maybe you were even curious about what eats butterflies. Wow, look at all of these questions. We can group similar questions into categories. And once we sort these questions into categories, we'll have our driving question board. We'll refer to the driving question board throughout the module as we seek to answer our questions about the butterfly fossil and about butterfly survival. Were you curious about how butterflies have survived for so long? Or did you wonder about the fossils of other organisms? Then your question would fall into category 1. What do fossils reveal about the past? Maybe your question was about what butterflies eat or where they live. If so, you can add it to category 2. How do organisms get what they need to survive? Your question, though, might have had something to do with what happens to butterflies during certain times of year. Questions like that belong in category 3. What happens to organisms when the environment changes? All of these questions have a similar theme. How do butterflies survive over time in a changing environment? I know that you had your own questions about butterfly survival. Your task after this lesson will be to put your questions into these categories. Now that we've got our driving question board all set, let's dive into one of these categories to get us started. We'll start with category 1. What do fossils reveal about the past? If we learn more about this butterfly fossil, we can uncover how they've survived for so long, even as their environment changed over time. Let's review your task for today. Sort each of your questions about butterfly survival into one of the 3 categories on the driving question board.